Okay, we should be streaming and ready to go. Yes, it says you are live, so let's check it out here. I think we're doing good here. Let me get some things situated here while you guys gather. One person's watching, that's pretty cool. I am going to check this out on my phone just to make sure that this is all looking good here. So where do I want to go to? Home. I give it a new title. Give it a new title. Give it a new title. Alrighty then, that's working out. Alrighty then, that's working out. Alright everybody, thanks for bearing with us while we get situated here. You're ready to go live. We thought we were ready. We spent about a half hour getting all the audio working and the double camera setup working, and now it's time to get it ready to be presentable on YouTube here, so just bear with us. I think we're doing all right. And as you can see by today's title, it's going to be playing in any mode, in any key, anytime, anywhere, with one simple shape is the big deal here. So, on my phone here, like let's say you had your phone plugged in so you could use backing tracks, or you have your own way to use backing tracks, you'll probably search them out on YouTube and you'll want to play them. And another thing, actually, another point is that this will make jamming fun. If you don't know how to do this now, and practicing is kind of boring, and you don't even know what modes are and how they'll help you, this was going to accomplish everything. It's going to turn these into music. It's going to get them into your ear, and it's going to be kind of fun doing it, and it's going to help you. You're going to be able to know how to do this all across your fretboard. So you're going to have one method that's going to take care of like a ton of different factors about your playing outside of your own technique. So, excuse me, while we get our throat clear. How should that work, and how can it be so darn easy? Let me show you what I found here. Hopefully you know from this channel how to make a guitar graph. And I'm basically, if you've watched this channel, I'm really just going to go over today, in today's lesson, everything I have already really gone over in all my videos, but what the heck. Let's reiterate. So let's make a shape we can always plug into our guitar fretboard here. And it's going to consist of a stack of 3 notes that you can place anywhere. It's a 5-fret area. 3 strings, 5 frets. Pretty much encompassing a scale pattern shape you've probably already played a million times. And as luck would have it, I didn't draw it properly here on the screen, so let me get that set up for you. I actually would have chose different boxes, but too late now. So there we are. I guess this works out because my hand isn't in the way. So there we have 3 notes that we would basically play like this. I'll just go randomly anywhere on the fretboard here. There's 579, 579, 579 from the E string. As you can see, I'm not the greatest player. Let me know if the sound is, maybe you want something a little less distorted. I like the sound, but that might be a little kind of much for YouTube ears, so let's get that changed out to... Alright, so... Well, let's get right to the point here, I guess. It's basically so easy. I'm going to have you write down the first letter of a whole bunch of modes in these boxes. And the cool thing is about this is this never changes no matter where you are on the fretboard. So you just need to memorize 9 boxes worth of information. Really, actually, you can take that down to 2 of them are repeats. So you can take it down to, think of it as really only having to learn 7 boxes, but then you're not even really using one of the modes very much. So technically, how easy is it to remember 6 boxes? Pretty easy. Right here, this is going to be our parent scale root note. Always falls in this box here of this shape on your fretboard. And so in that box, we're going to write I, which stands for Ionian. In this one, we're going to write D for Dorian and P for Phrygian. Here we're going to write Alpha-Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. And then once again, we know this on the guitar is an octave pattern. So that's once again M, A, and then we're going to have Locrian again, and you might say, hey man, you've already got an L in this box, so that's going to confuse us to have another L there. How are we going to work this out? Well, what we do with this one is we put an L and an X there. This is our LX box. And why do we use an X there? Well, why do I use a little X there? Well, it's easy to draw in that corner. And, well, maybe not so easy to draw in that corner, huh? It just helps me know that that's the L that I'm not going to use very much. That's the Locrian mode, and I have my own personal, I've assigned my own personal emotional kind of theme to that mode. To me, it's enigmatic. It's if I'm creating something that's doesn't want to ever resolve, then I'm gonna choose Locrian, and that's pretty rare. So you can see why it's not very popular among many artists to choose that mode. So that'll be one that you don't have to worry about too much. You're probably going to use once you get familiar with modes and you realize that they're add a little extra spice to life outside of just regular old Ionian. Then you probably, hop on, and you're already familiar with Aeolian from the natural minor scale, which is what that is, natural major, natural minor. So it leaves you with these basically 3 other modes to toy around with, which are 4 other modes. We want to consider Phrygian in there. Even that one's got starts to get such a strong flavor. It's one of my least used, but depends on your style of music too. Metal guys, I think, will use that more than say like a country player. But anyways, Mixolydian, Dorian, and Lydian are going to be probably amongst your widely used modal sounds when you get to practicing. And in the beginning, when you want to just start to distinguish, all these different modes from each other, start just practicing all these ones together, assign your own emotional context. In another video, I explain how you can think of the 3 major modes together and the 3 minor modes together with the natural major, Ionian. And there's a reason I'm calling it the natural major. You'll see in a second, because that goes along with calling this one the natural minor. And because they're the natural ones, we're going to put those ones in the center of our universe here, or our little explanation boxes here. And on the lighter side, I'm going to put Lydian, and on the heavier side, I'm going to put Mixolydian, and on the lighter side here, I'm going to put Dorian, and on the heavier side here, I'm going to put Phrygian. And you can do a little kind of a quick diagram here like this can kind of let you know, like you can put this like lighter and heavier. And this will give you like a little emotional lighter and darker, or whatever you kind of, it'll give you a little emotional kind of way to understand how the modes are actually quite balanced out. And then, Locrian here is just your enigmatic, floating in no man's land, LX, right? So, a lighter, then a little bit more buoyant. You'll hear this in, Joe Satriani's using this. Songs about flying, dreams, a little more angelic theme, whatever, is a lot of times going to be choosing Lydian. It's got a little bit more of a buoyant sound than just standard old Happy Time, Mary Had a Little Lamb, lots of different songs, Ionian scale. And then perhaps Mixolydian's going to be like, happy with a weird twist to it, so it starts to get a little strange. A little party time, a little more honky-tonk, if you will. Okay, so enough rambling, because that's stuff that you can choose to assign yourself, and it may not be what I explained, but it's probably going to be close. Anyways, because these are all major modes, and these would be all minor modes, and this would be a diminished mode for the diminished chord that it falls on. Okay, so let's relate this now to playing this, to making it fun, and playing this on any key at any time. Hey, doesn't that mean my camera phone is actually recording? Strange, huh? Anyways, Let's get this phone to work here. Modal backing tracks. So you want to go to YouTube and type in modal backing tracks, and right off the bat here, what we can see is probably a couple cool tracks here. We have a variety of different notes that they're in. You know, that's where everyone starts to get confused. Like, you know, how are there all these different Mixolydian scales? This doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it's going to make sense today. It's going to be super simple to jam across the whole fretboard. So watch this. Anyways, we have G, we have a B. Now that's if they got these. Some of these sometimes they're not right, but most of them are pretty. They'll usually get called out in the comments if they're not actually, you know, that exact mode. If they're not eliciting that mode. But anyways, G Mixolydian. We have B Mixolydian. We have another one in G. We have C. We have D. We have E. Which one do you guys choose? I have no preference here. So, this is pretty cool. I haven't seen these ones that are relating to the Grateful Dead. This would be pretty cool to take a look at in a few minutes. But anyways, let's see what we got. E. And we got C. Well, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to stick with what would be easy today. Yeah, let's do E. And then we'll do C. Because it's all the same thing. And it's pretty much this simple. So here's the meat and potatoes of everything. You want to jam in Mixolydian, right? And it says E Mixolydian. What do we choose? Do we choose E? Okay, we choose E. So here is our Mixolydian note. Our Mixolydian note is here and here. M and M. So we're going to place this series of notes. We're going to mount this block with the E note in this block. Fair enough? We're going to find the E note where on the guitar? Here. We got an E note here. We'll have an E note here. And of course, here and here and here, and approximately here, and approximately there, and something like that, right? Okay, so we can take this shape and think about it perhaps right here, which would be up on the 12th fret. And you have just played all the notes that will sound good against that backing track. And what you also did, as a side bonus, in these interior boxes here, is encapsulate every quote-unquote wrong note, which you could eventually use as like a flavor note or a slide-in note to jazz up your solos, or a chromatic passing note. You know, whatever you're thinking of doing and whatever sounds good to your ear in your jams. So, slowly but surely here, I got all them boxes filled out, which you probably just visualized a couple of minutes ago. So we have our M over E, so that's going to work. But you say, wait a minute, all we have is that little spot of the fretboard. What about all the rest of it? How does this equate to the whole rest of the fretboard? Well, first of all, let's get to that, but let's see if this even works here. So what do we say? E Mixolydian backing track. Okay, so let's click on the E Mixolydian backing track and see if any of those notes work. Let's see what happens.
Traveling for business
doesn't commercials.
feel like work. Get 5 times points on flights and prepaid hotels.
All those notes he's playing are in this box. It's a pretty good player there. Let's get to the track here. So, okay, those are all the notes of the box. I think they all sounded pretty good. Here they are slowly. Sounds good. Sounds good. Good. Cool. Good. Alright, now how about the notes in between the boxes? Sounded only good when I got it resolved into a box. How about this note? Yeah, I know. There, I tried to show you how to incorporate it into a line. Didn't sound awesome, but we worked it out from sounding like a bad note. But as you can see, you got your avoid notes there, your special flavor notes. I like to call them spice notes. So, you just simply got more note choices to jazz up your solos and to create tension with, which is where it's at, right? And we got all our good notes there, and that's all it's only the only notes that there are. So once you lock into those facts, it should become a little easier here to get it all across your fretboard, and because we're confident now, we know all the good notes and all the wrong notes, and we know that they're underneath our fingers in this shape. So how do we take this shape and use it to travel across the fretboard? Well, there's two ways to do that, two passageways. One is in this direction, one leaves in this direction to the left and to the right on two strings. You can even know your scale pattern up a single string, which is helpful too when sometimes you just go that way. But we have once again travel in this direction, like a diagonal direction. If you travel in this direction on the fretboard, it tends to repeat itself. The exact same thing will repeat itself. Then there's also the octave pattern in this direction, so it's kind of neat. There's just a lot of weird symmetry here on this guitar fretboard. But so we can go then out this way and out that way. So when we travel in this direction, it links to itself. When we travel left or right, the box butts up to itself, creating this little doorway pattern we've talked about in other videos. So let's if you've watched those other videos, this will be a repeat of that information. If you're brand new and somehow just catching my channel and this live broadcast at any time or some later date, here you go. Repeat all the information. Basically, this box simply is going to repeat itself because that's the only. These are all the 12 notes, so that's all there is. You can make it look like there's other shapes, but basically you can boil it down to this is a nice symmetrical box to consider the core box, at least in my mind's eye. So these two notes are a repeat. This M and A, the same M and A. So whatever note you're on, if this is a G, that's a G. If that's an A, that's an A. If that's a D, that's a D, and on and on and on. So if those notes are always the same, that means that that's where the box starts again. Just lock your mind into the fact that that never changes, and you're good to go, right? Wrong. Let me show you something here. The reason this has never jumped out at you is because the guitar fretboard doesn't make it exactly that simple. Remember the B string shift. So this box, in and of itself, is going to have a little bit of a distortion here. Let me show you. It's going to break up that way. But if you know that, there you go. You already have this part of the fretboard filled in. And if you then say, well, since these are repeat notes, then we start another pattern here that will eventually falls off the fretboard, so we can't have the bottom row. But just to make this maybe a little more clear, let's go I, D, P, M-A, Locrian, and L-M-A. And then M-A. And then I-D-P. So now you can see everything as it repeats, and you've got this part of the fretboard filled out. There, that's under your fingers now, more than used to be with just some pentatonic scale. Speaking of pentatonics, however, you may be interested in knowing that a pentatonic is about to appear underneath your fingertips here. And that happens well, let's get to another point first. But when I play, I see a pentatonic right in this area, and that overlays a couple of notes, really filling in that square here, just leaving basically that part to get filled in, and then it's the repeat, same thing. Anyways, so, because remember, on a guitar fretboard, all you got to know is 12 frets, and you already know the other half, because it's identical. So, another feature of this box is, we'll draw it up here, it always butts up against itself. So here we have the 3, 3, and 3 shape, and we butt it up against itself like this. On the right side, it hangs down in this direction, and on the left side, and we're writing over our old notes here, it's a little annoying, but on the right side, it also butts up to itself, but it uses the top. So it goes like that, if you can see. Making sense, and so, it would be behind my picture on the screen here. And so what would we have here? We would have M-I-L, Mixolydian, Ionian, Lydian. You erase this stuff so it's not in the way anymore. Hopefully you wrote all that down. Should have just used a different piece of paper for this, but here we are. ADM, Locrian, Phrygian, Aeolian. So it butts up to itself on this side and on this side. And now the magic of it doing that is it creates this kind of high-speed travel box. And once you travel through the box, well, you don't have to think about anywhere else, because the minute you step into this, well, I'm going to actually call it a doorway, a high-speed doorway. As soon as you step into the doorway, you're right into the next box. There's no other place to go. The notes you're hitting are in the box. So your foot's in the door, and you don't have to feel like, you're floating in no man's land. You're someplace you definitely know where you are. So if we consider this the main box here that we drew, you've got your boxes here hanging off the sides like a Mr. Potato Head ear, one up, one down. You can think of it like that. Silly things always are easy to remember. Or you can think of this, someone else brought this to my attention, that this looks like a 9, a 1, and a 6. 916. Your 916 code. And this shape I tend to play like, basically let's isolate, use some other colors here. I don't know if you'll be able to see that here. This is what we'll do. Let's isolate these notes in yellow. And I'll even position shift over the box. I usually consider this whenever I'm going through the box. I mean, you've played that. I'm sure you've all played that a million times. So, those notes should all work with this backing track, and let's load them into our, what did we just learn here? So if it butts up against itself here, we've got our square here, which gets us into the box there. So we would have our notes there. We don't, and from here, you know, when you're jamming, once you're in the mode, you don't have to even think about what's in the box. You don't have to be like I, D, M, A. It doesn't have to work like that. You just have to know where the shape is, and your finger's there, and then it's your ear telling you, yeah, play this note, hold that note, go back to that note, skip the hell away from that note. So what do we got here? That's always a P right there, right? And just the same way, the P and the L are now on that side of the square, so we have the I and the L right here. Boom, Lydian. Own, Aronian. And then we have Dorian is next. Mix of Lydian. You'll probably, you won't find it hard to know what's in all those boxes after a while anyways. But, so there we've got a whole big piece, you know, filled out. We can go from here to there, from there to everywhere. Now these boxes turn out to be like the big navigational tool of the system here. You'll notice that the boxes always connect exactly to its corner, unless it's the B string shift, of course, going this way. So in theory here, we've got another box right here. Like for example, it butts up to itself here, but the box is broken because of the B string shift. But that's not hard for me to know anymore. And once I'm in my boxes, aside from knowing how it links up, my big point was that I always see the pentatonic shapes as soon as I see the boxes. When I see this broken box, to me, I'm dead nuts in Aeolian, what my original guitar teacher taught me as the Aeolian shape. As you can see, it's like a pentatonic box that starts on the A for Aeolian. Let's get that drawn out here. And what do we got here? And what comes before Locrian? Aeolian. And you probably recognize this shape as a pentatonic box. Right? And if you add in those gut notes, there's your Aeolian pattern. And now things are starting to look real familiar. For some of you that have done your studies, you know, once you know where Aeolian is, you know your way across the fretboard because that's how you learned it. For the rest of us, we can think of our, we can use pentatonics to get across the rest of the fretboard here. I could keep going, you know, just using my master box logic here to fill out the rest of these notes, but it's quicker for my mind to just know wherever my Aeolian type box is. My Dorian Phrygian box can't be too far behind. In my mind's eye, I know this way a little quicker than this way, but I know that way anyways. Like for example, I know if my Aeolian is here, my next box shape, well, the box is at the top of Aeolian, right? And it's also right here. And here's another thing to know about it. I've explained in other videos, so some of you will already know. If there's a corner, we now know it's up right here. There's a box shape. When it goes in this pattern, there's basically only 2 rows on the guitar that travel in this direction. One carries the box on a nice even grouping of the first 2, the middle 2, and the last 2 strings. So that would be here, here, and here. And then the big cool thing here is that there's a rule from ancient Egypt: as is above, so is below, and it holds true on the guitar fretboard, which I think is really cool. Whatever you have on that below string, you have on the above string. So we have this one going right here. We have this, which is the same as this. And so now you can go that way with your squares. And you know the fretboard that way. Now, as for filling in these gut notes here, I don't have to really think about anything majorly formula-wise, because right here we're dancing around two very familiar pentatonic shapes, and let me show you those right now. In orange here, I'm going to highlight what I know as the Dorian shape, and that gets me to know all these notes right here. And with Dorian, I always know my Phrygian scale is connected with Dorian. It uses this box that connects from there, the second row, where it's on the outer two strings and the inner two groupings. So remember, this one was the 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and this one is the basically 1, and then 2 and 3 are a box, 4 and 5 are a box, and 6, as is above, so is below. And on and on, ding chink, ding chink, and your fretboard is yours in your mind's eye. So we have Phrygian goes like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Now I'm using all these modal names, but that's just to call out some shapes. There's a technical reason that they're called that, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, just to keep it simple, because we just simply aren't talking about that, so we don't need to know. But it's a very simple reason that they would call it the name of a different mode, but you can still use that shape to play in Mixolydian, because this is all the same notes. It just doesn't matter where you play them. There's 12 notes, and they're repeating all over this fretboard. You just have to know what's the simple way that they're organized, so they can always be under your fingertips. So these are all the notes that work under Mixolydian. I don't even have to fill this in, because I know whatever I just played here is going to translate back here. And just for shits and giggles here, here I was filling in the Phrygian, which is, you see the same box, boom, 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 12 frets back. It's right here again, here, there, here, there. We know a pentatonic goes like this, and the guts of Phrygian have the box right there, which then therefore creates a box. Go back to our orange for Dorian. A box right here. Well, all we really need to do is make a row, because there's that neat little row of notes right there. Put our box right there, and since we know our box is right there, we know our box is right there. And see how quickly you can move your finger to that fret a lot faster than I can draw on here. So very quickly we have our whole fretboard understood, and I don't need now to know really that, okay, so that's going to be my 1, this is going to be my 2, this will be the the 5th of the 1. It's helpful in explaining or getting through a couple other things, but to just jam, I'm going to use my ear. So here in this example, we've placed the M over the E note, so I'm going to be able to play in E Amsterdamian. No, okay, there's no such thing. That's me, E Mixolydian. So, no more getting spoofed by the big, scary names. I'm going to use all these notes here to create my improv here. All across the fretboard. Alright, just get on with the beat. Christ. I'm going to try to add in some wrong notes now. So, as you can see in here, before I start rambling on with notes, that all those notes that we just filled out will cover E mixolydian. And so it's the same thing if you want B flat Phrygian. Put the P over a B flat. And the exact way you get across the fretboard in this way will work for that track. Because it places all the notes over the boxes that you need, and you got all the right notes and all the wrong notes under your fingertips. You've got control of 144 notes. Pretty awesome, right? And 84 different modes. Totally awesome with some pretty simple ideas there. How did I get all those numbers? Well, if you go 6 strings by 24 frets, that I believe equals 144. And then if you take 12 notes by 7 modes per note, I believe that equals 84. So, my friends, I guess I'll wrap up you know what I'll do? Let me go to the comments section to see if anybody has left a comment or has a question. Let me take some live questions right now, if anybody is even watching, but hopefully this was a little bit better than my previous live stream, so let's take a look, because it's in a book and it's Reading Rainbow. If you're as old as me, you'll know what that was. Let's take a look here. Chat. No one is chatting. 2 people are watching, however, which is kind of cool. Hello to the 2 people watching if you're still out there watching. Maybe you're jamming with your backing tracks. But leave a question. I'm going to type something here. Welcome to the Broadcast. The Broadcast. Welcome to the Broadcast. Well, that's how that goes. Well, I'll stay live a little bit longer. I mean, not really doing much today. The weather is just simply shit here. And gotta go to work tomorrow. And I could go jam around, or, actually I could go... Well, I could go bring my guitar to storage and jam around. You don't know what storage is. That's an area I have where I rent a part of a barn in the country around where I live, and I can go there and jam on guitar or work on some cars I have parked in that barn, but kind of cold to do that today, so just wanted to jam around here. So what about, let's try some other modes here. Try some other modes. So what do we have here? What was this Grateful Dead Franklin's Tower backing track thing?
Come again?
Wow.
Well, we have to wait until the ad is done. Well, Okay, so how did I just pick up my guitar and start jamming with a track? Like I did. Here's what I did. I knew about this formula, so I used that, and all I needed to do was establish where the notes were. I've gotten to play this so much that when you get really familiar with it, you'll just kind of be able to pick up your guitar and kind of hit a note that goes along with the track. And if you don't, you know exactly what to do with it quick. And once you get comfortable with that fact, you just start kind of being comfortable enough to be present enough to just kind of go with the note that your mind is telling you to go with, which is usually the right note. So I did that. And then I just started experimenting, trying to link it up with shapes. When I hit that note, I felt like the next good note was a half step up, not a whole step, and I got it right. And I knew that since that was the half step up, it was more than likely that I had a whole step behind. So then I had 3 notes under my fingers. And as you can see here, that pattern only happens 2 different places. It could either be at the bottom of what I call the Aeolian shape or the bottom of the Dorian shape. So I kind of had a good clue about where the pattern was going to fall. I really only had to determine then. I knew that once I had this shape, and since the only other place they both have this note in the same spot, I knew that I had a nice shell of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes of the major scale. All I needed was 2 more notes to complete the entire scale and know exactly where I was on the fretboard. And my ear told me to choose this one. Well, first of all, I'm going to play these notes right here on the outside. I played that. And then it was a choice of picking one, and I got it right again. I gravitated towards this one. It was kind of what I felt my inner ear was telling me to go to, and sure enough I hit it and it was right. So then I knew right there I'm in the bottom of Aeolian, and the rest of my fretboard was underneath my fingers at that point, because once I was there and quickly knew about all that, because you're only gonna go over this thing I taught you a little bit before it's like, oh my god, okay, I got that. That's totally easy, because it's fun, it's super musical, which is what you want it to be, and then it just starts melding right into your ear. So at least that's how it worked for me. Hopefully for you too. Which is why I guess I'm making these videos. So and as you can hear, it's you're taking of your 12 notes, you found, some really nice choices. But some people would, with a lot of experience will say, hey man, don't lock these people into, just playing that. They'll find out, they got bored and they were only playing the same old thing, man. There's more variety to music than that. So, they're right. You could feel free to put some other scales over that. You're going to have to be careful and choose your notes. But if you're feeling it, you may be able to evoke some other kinds of cool sounds. For all we know, if I had just chosen to make this a Dorian, it may have actually worked over it with a kind of a peculiar sound that you might have thought was more on point. So, yeah. Don't feel locked in by this theory, but use it as a tool to start understanding what's going on. If you got gray area happening all around, you're just afraid to go down the fretboard and improvise. You don't know what improv is. Start here, making it all sound nice and squeaky clean. Once you know all your notes are under your fingers, you can work on your articulation, making them all sound clean on your quick lines. Then you can work on, jumping around, creating some new things where you jumped from here to here and you thought it sounded cool. You chose like some weird pattern and it sounded great, a lot of things like that. And, yeah. Well, let's see about what if we wanted to do, let's try something else here. What about Lydian? So, I'm going to take out the Mixo in Mixolydian and just let's do a Lydian backing track. Turn into a Lydiot. So You know, let's see. Here's an interesting thing I think you guys will find. Here, what did we have here? We had, we were playing Mixolydian on the E note. That's what we built here. So where does our L fall? Our L is right here. What note is right there? Let's see. If E is here, that must be D. Right? D comes before E, so that would be D-Lydian. So if we find a D-Lydian backing track, we should be able to plug all the same exact notes as our E Mixolydian track, because all of those fall under the same parent key, and the parent key of the scale is always in this box here. And what are we on? A. So we're in the scale of A, where E is the 5th and D is the 4th. And so, for example, a 1, 4, 5 in A would be A, D, E. Just so you can take maybe bits of your own knowledge and plug some of this stuff in, and you get that light bulb moment. For others, some of this stuff, extra talk, will confuse them. But I guess you can't win here on YouTube. Let's keep rolling. So what were we looking for? It was not A, it was D. D-Lydian. D-Lydian, right? So let's see if we can find a D-Lydian track here. We got A-Lydian, C. I guess we're going to have to type in D if we want it. That's my take. So we'll be, Steve Weil. See? Look at that. Dreamy Lydian. Very common theme with Lydian. Beautiful, uplifting, so all that kind of stuff. Did we have D? A-Lydian, E-Lydian. What? E. Backing track, E-Lydian, G-sharp. Saying more there, but we're not going to. Got a picture. Who's that? Eric Johnson on there? Let me take a close look at that. I don't know. Could be. Anyways. Yeah, Eric Johnson on tour. Go see Eric Johnson. You guys going to go see Eric Johnson? I think I'm going to try to see him. He made it easy and came right here into Rochester, 1 or 2 years ago. And now, I think it was just last year. I think he's going to be in Buffalo in a couple weeks. And I think I'm going to have time to go see him. So we'll see how that works out. Although it'll be a week without a paycheck, so we don't know. F-Lydian mode. Okay, so we wanted D, right? So let's type in D-Lydian just to get a little more progress here happening. All right, keyboard, help us out. D-Lydian mode. D-Lydian backing track. Spacey D-Lydian. Try the spacey one. About panoramic sunroofs. All right, here's your notes. Volume spike there. All right. Yeah, that was cool. You know how I knew it was cool? Because I got lost and I was just jamming, forgetting I was live on YouTube. So, pretty cool. And all my notes, I felt, worked out pretty good. We were in the key of D Lydian, which has a parent key of A Ionian. You can learn all that stuff here. You can see how it like all kind of interrelates. You can be all across your fretboard. It's like massively everything about guitar, like all in one. I don't know about you, but I think I'm into something cool here with this lesson format. Hopefully you dig it, and it's helping you get from ground zero into playing. I think it will because, you know, here you are with a new ability to figure out any backing track you want on YouTube. Any of them. Absolutely any of them. So you can start getting familiar with what sounds like what. So you can go like, oh my God, this is Lydian. This is, you know, you'll probably find one where you play like F Lydian and you'll be like, oh my God, this is such and such song. Oh, I see now. You know, and you know, you'll know like, wow, I really like that mode. And then you'll play in another mode. You'll be like, oh, this is that mode. Nah, this isn't for me. I don't really care for this mode. And so you'll get your favorites and you'll jam in those a lot. And then you'll know one day when you're like in a different mood and you're like, you know, I think that mode I don't really like would really work today. And suddenly you'll see like on a certain day when the mood is just right and the wind is blowing just right and the sunlight is just right and your mood is just right, that mode really works for you. And just consider that. Mood. Sounds to me like a long time ago they were called moods, and it just kind of got translated over to modes, making it more hard, more complex for everybody to explain it and lose everybody over it, which is kind of cool because that made probably less guitar players rise to the top and more room for those who could get it all figured out in their mind, or perhaps even their mind's eye. So I guess that's pretty much the extent of what I have to say in this video. I think we've been rocking for, there's 15 seconds to the hour right now. So maybe I'll stop this right at 60 seconds here. I've lost a viewer and no one has commented on anything, so we're going to say that that's our live stream for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully this gets you across the fretboard in some kind of new way that you weren't expecting, and does all those things I claimed, like, for example, have you understand modes, how they work, where they sit on the fretboard, and how they sound, and how to improvise over them. What you heard me jam there was me just using my ear, knowing where all the notes sit. Now I have a palette filled with paint, and I can see the colors. So now I can take those colors and put them on a canvas where I want them. Does that make sense? And have a more of a real picture. And then it's about technique. Learning how to draw buildings, because now you know how to make the color of a building against the color of the sky and the color of the ground. Does it make any sense? I don't know if it does make any sense, but hopefully it did. I guess I'll see everybody later. I hope you once again enjoyed. I hope you'll check out my Patreon page and give this type of teaching some support. You know, I mean, just think about this. This could have, if this did what I said, this just gave you like 3 weeks to 6 months worth of guitar lessons in an hour. That's like $500 worth of lessons for nothing here on YouTube. Throw a guy $1. You know, throw me $1. If this helped 1,000 people and they all threw me $1, I could make one of these videos every other day, and have the time and the dedication to do it, and make them more professional and grow the channel. 2,000 people would give me $1. If 10 grand a month rolled in, well, then I would definitely be taking this to brand new levels. But that's not happening right now. It is for other teachers who are giving you lessons that are taking you, still through years and years of your life, not learning anything. But I wouldn't name anyone specifically, and I don't find too many YouTube channels doing that. They're all, really good. Of course, I have my favorites. I'm sure you have yours. And, yeah, lots of good channels to compete with out there. There's a lot of great teachers with great equipment and great studio backdrops and everything like that. So, thank you for watching. I'll leave it with that. Have a great day. Enjoy your Sunday wherever you are. Enjoy any day of the week that you're watching this in the future. And have a great day. See you.